Good morning. This is Dr. McDaniel at GYN Corner. I'm a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist in New York City, and I'm bringing to you all things health-related for women. Thank you for joining me here at the corner today. So let's see. The last presentation I spoke about folic acid or folate. It's a water-soluble vitamin, and today I'm going to speak on vitamin A. So folic acid or folate, that's a B vitamin. There's a whole bunch of different B vitamins. I'll speak on a few of them in the future. Today I'm going to speak on A. I decided to speak on A today because yesterday I had a patient. She's pregnant, and she was asking about prenatal vitamins, and I was recommending one of the chewable vitamins, the Vitafol. It's a little candy-like vitamin, so it tastes really good, and I'd been eating a lot of them a couple of days ago. So I recommended the gummies for her, and then she said that she was wanted to make sure it had what she had in her previous one. I said, all the vitamins should be, if they say prenatal vitamins, they're all standard. They have extra bells and whistles. So I looked, and I realized when I looked at what the amounts where I was going through them, I realized the vitamin A was I think it was 1100 mics of vitamin A, and I thought that sounds like a lot of vitamin A. So when I went to look it up, the max you're supposed to take on a daily basis is 1500. So I thought maybe I'll speak on vitamin A because I took way too much vitamin A 2 days ago. Each of those packs have little 3 candies. It's altogether it's 1100. I ate about 5 of those packs because they're little gummies. It tastes really good. So I had almost 6,000 mics of the, or I guess it's IUs, international units. I had almost 6,000 IUs of the vitamin A, and I should have only had 1,500. So it's easy to overdose. That's why they have those are always in child-proof bottles, because they taste like candy. A little kid gets to it, they're going to eat like the whole bottle, and they can really overdose on some of the vitamin supplements there. So vitamin A. Now when I hear vitamin A, I think, oh, carrots and helps with your vision, but it's a little bit more than that. So vitamin A is a group of fat-soluble retinoids, and fat-soluble vitamins, as opposed to the water-soluble. Water-soluble are vitamins that disperse and get metabolized and broken down and disperse and travel through the tissues, and they get excreted like water does. They get excreted or flushed out of our system on a daily basis. We don't get storage of the water-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins are vitamins that get stored in our fats, and they we can stock up on those, so we don't have to take in fat-soluble vitamins every day. We can take them in, and then they store, and their body will slowly release them. So those are fat-soluble vitamins, and vitamin A is a group of fat-soluble vitamins. So it's 3 different vitamins is vitamin A. It's retinol, and retinil, and they're all what we call esters, so they're esterified. Now, vitamin A basically comes in 2 forms. So there's 3 different types, and there's 2 forms of it. So the first form is called preformed A, and the preformed A we get from animal and dairy intake, so milk, cheese, fish, and meats. And then the second one is called provitamin A, and it's a carotenoid, and that's what we usually think of as carrots. So carotenoids, those are all plant-based sources of the vitamin A, and we all know about the beta carotene, which is the most well-known form of the vitamin A. So those 2 forms we get through our diet, and then we can also get the supplement of the vitamin A through multivitamins or prenatal vitamins, doesn't matter. Now, vitamin A is stored in the liver. So the largest source, or the most amount of vitamin A you'll get if you want to get it through your diet, will be if you eat organ meats, especially the liver. Now, vitamin A helps on several aspects. We all know it helps with vision, and that's because it helps with the receptors in our eyes, and it also helps with the immune system. So that's something new I learned. I didn't realize that it helped with the immune function, and it helps with communication between different cells in our body. So you can do a blood test for vitamin A. Most people do not get their vitamin A levels checked, and that's because most people in America or other modern countries, for well-developed countries, we don't have any deficiencies in different food groups. So most of us are going to get decent amount of dairy products, decent amount of meat, decent amount of vegetables and plants. So we're going to get that throughout the day. It's going to be stored, and vitamin A deficiency is very, very, very rare in well-developed countries. It's common in poorer countries where they can potentially have overall poor nutrition, so they're not getting food every day. They're getting food sporadically, and when they get it, it's very limited. Just like breads and water, flour and paste type of very, very limited array of food intake and limited amounts. So in those countries, you can get vitamin A deficiency. But we don't check it here in the States because it's so rare, it's not necessary to check. And when you check the vitamin A levels, the catch is it's stored really well in the liver. So they're not looking on the vitamin A levels for the liver storage, they're just looking for what's circulating in the bloodstream. What's circulating in the bloodstream is always going to be high until the liver is completely exhausted. So it's not going to tell us if someone's low, it's only going to tell us if they're completely deficient. So it's kind of helpful but not super helpful as a way to get a warning and to prevent a horrible deficiency. As I said, the vitamin A, the preformed A, is in liver, fish, milk, eggs, cheese, all of the usual suspects for dairy and meat products. And the vitamin, the provitamin A, the carotenoids, those are from plants, so vegetables, so sweet potatoes, pumpkin, cantaloupe, spinach, peppers, carrots, of course, everybody knows carrots, and even potatoes. I was surprised about potatoes. I always think of that as a starch, not so much of a vegetable, but you do have vitamin A in potatoes also. Now, the catch is, of course, if you're deficient, you're going to have problems with your immune system, problems with your vision, and problems with skin a lot of times. So those are the usual signs of the vitamin A deficiency. Night blindness starts first, and then you can have ulcerations of the cornea because of the cell communication, and the health of the cells is compromised, and you can have additional eye problems and eventually complete blindness, and diarrhea because of intestinal issues with turnaround of the cells and communication and integrity of the cells in the intestinal system. Now, less common, but it can happen, is vitamin A excess, and thankfully I didn't go nuts on that for a whole week. I only did the excess for one day, and then I realized the problem. But for the excess, and they've had situations where there's excess. I read about Arctic explorers over 100 years ago. Arctic explorers in the North Pole, for survival issues, they ate polar bears, and they ate a lot of the liver of the polar bears, and they had excess because, of course, it's highly concentrated in the liver, and they had a lot of liver. So the excess, which is not common, but it can happen, that can cause nausea, vomiting, headaches, and then muscle aches, bone aches, eventually liver toxicity because of the high amount of vitamin A being stored in that person's liver toxicity, and then liver toxicity can lead to coma, and of course that coma can lead to death. So it can be a big deal to have either too much or too little, but most Americans are just right. So I hope that's been helpful information on vitamin E, what it does, where it comes from, and the problems with not getting enough or getting too much. Thank you for watching. This is Dr. McDaniel at GYN Corner. Please hit the subscribe and follow button if you like the presentations and the information I'm providing. Hit the like button if it's just specific topics that you want to hear more about, and leave comments on the YouTube questions. I always answer the questions that are left there, and leave comments and suggestions for future presentations. Thanks again for joining me. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.